What is going on YouTube? Hidden back making another brand new Crypto TV episode. In today's video, we're going to be looking at Litecoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, as well as XRP to USD. I also want to look at the current coin market cap as well as a company called Fisker Karma. Hopefully you guys know what that automotive shop is. Basically, they have some pretty exotic cars, the Fisker Karma. They are now accepting Bitcoin, so I'll be touching upon that later on in today's episode. Otherwise, if you guys are new to the channel, definitely make sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications, leave a giant thumbs up, and let's jump right into the technical analysis. So usually I jump right into the current coin market cap, the articles, but I want to switch it up and give you guys the analysis first. The articles will be towards the end of the episode. So I want to start off with Bitcoin and then go into something on Litecoin, which I have not noticed the past couple of days, and I wanted to point that out to you guys. So right now we're looking at Bitcoin on its daily charts, and there's a couple of things to note. So I did switch it up. I got rid of the Fibonacci's and I wanted to start looking at the MACD indicators. We did a video yesterday discussing what exactly the MACD was, and as you'll notice, when that blue band crosses over the orange, that's an indicator that we are going to be heading down. It's usually a bearish indicator. So with that being said, if we hopefully stay above here, we can easily see another rally, but the looks seem to be like we're trying to break lower and break below that orange signal, which would indicate that we head lower. Now, heading lower isn't necessarily a bad thing for this crypto. Bitcoin isn't really doing terrible in regards to where it's trading at right now, but we have to consider that there is still the support that's been on the coin since the beginning of 2019, and we have pretty much rallied off of this line. Now, this is a huge support indicator that it seems like the price wants to kind of consolidate back down to. Now, that's still a good thing considering that we started off with a support at $3,000 in 2019, and we could easily hit a $7,000 support as we head up into, where the prices are right now. So that's a good indicator right off the back. In terms of long-term possibilities, we could easily consolidate down to $7,000. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. The price is currently trading at $8,000.55. So to see a small retracement of $7,200 is more or less like $800, and that's a small dip in the price of Bitcoin, considering we could see this easily blast off to a much bigger price level. Now, we are talking about a couple of months later. It's currently, October, mid-October, and we have till the end of December before we see any sort of break to the upside. Now, I do want to show you guys the possibilities of a movement. Now, this major uptrend or symmetrical triangle is about a 62% jump, and merely just moving this over to where the breakout could be, which is still less than 62. Let's move this up to a 62% jump. I want to show you guys what that could potentially look like. So with that being said, since we opened the mouth of the triangle, when we then take the percentage gain and move that over to the point of breakout, potentially, this could easily shoot a jump up to the highs of easily $18,700, which is extremely high, don't get me wrong, but we could easily see that climax happen fairly soon. This is a smaller ripple compared to what we've seen before, with some pretty big volume we've had at the top, and if these things can continue to repeat itself, we could see a breakout similar to what we saw before that could shoot us up higher. Now, why would it shoot us up higher? Notice that every time we came back down, we started to we kind of consolidated out at a higher level. So notice that this breakout right here is fairly similar to what we're looking at right now. So understand that we saw this big consolidation pattern happen. We then saw us test resistance right here, and we fell lower and consolidated. That's what we're looking at right now on Bitcoin, and that's why I really wanted to make this video, because I think it's a very interesting pattern. Now notice the same thing, very similar. We shot up, we consolidated into some sort of descending triangle, similar to here, and then we broke bearish right here, consolidated, and then broke out, which is this time. So notice that this is a very, very, very similar pattern that we're seeing once over. And now maybe on the weekly this is a little bit easier to see. Notice it's a very similar trend. We had our major breakout, consolidation into what we thought was a descending triangle, which broke bearish, then consolidated. So same thing, we broke out, we had our major symmetrical triangle or descending triangle, traded sideways, broke bearish, same thing here, and then consolidated out, and now we're consolidating too. Now notice this ended us shooting up to higher levels. So if we can continue to consolidate out, we may swing up higher, and that's going to be a huge thing. And now if history does repeat itself, that's what we're looking at. It's a very similar pattern, which I'd like you guys to comment on in the charts below. Notice that this is the same thing that happened. We shot up, consolidated downwards, broke lower, we could swing up again. So notice this is a very similar pattern on the weekly. Shot up, consolidated down, broke resistance, and then continued up. So notice that there was a point where we consolidated into a point where we thought the breakout was going to happen, and it pump faked us, so we fell lower. Same thing happened here, consolidated, pump fake, we fell lower, consolidated, broke up. So very similar, or broke down, and then consolidated here. Then we broke up. So we're looking for that same pattern to happen. So this ends towards the end of, November into December, towards the end of 2019. So we could easily be seeing prices closer to like 15K within 2019, which would be a huge bonus. That's doubling your money within Bitcoin in literally like less than 2 months, 3 months. So this could be a massive opportunity for people who are invested into Bitcoin. I wanted to really point this out, that this is a huge possibility, and we are very similar in terms of scalability. This is almost identical in terms of triangles. You can just see how obvious the pattern repeats itself. When we shot up, we hit resistance, fell, consolidated. Now we're looking for this consolidation. So now let's look into a little bit deeper what exactly we could expect in this consolidation pattern. Because if we're here, and that's right here, we're expecting to see more movement this way. So what we could predict happening is we could see smaller jumps in prices. We were at 3,000, shot all the way up to $4,200, and then consolidated out. So we could see another jump. Now, we didn't retest that downtrend, so we may not see retesting of the downtrend, but we may see more consolidation, and then we may break out. That's the huge thing. Now, this is a kind of long-term but short-term price analysis on Bitcoin, and I wanted to point this out to you guys that there is a possibility. Now, moving on to Litecoin, I wanted to reference something that's on the weekly. Notice on the weekly how I have two downtrends drawn here, and I wanted to kind of switch those up for you guys because I think it's starting to look a little bit different. So I had this here, and then I had this here, but I'm noticing a very interesting thing. If I extend this up, this looks about accurate. Notice that we have resistance. We hit right here where this wick is, but then we fell lower, then we hit resistance. We're currently hitting that right now. So this is a huge play right now, and that's why I wanted to bring this up. I wanted to switch things over for you guys, maybe show you guys what the daily looks like now that we have this trend drawn here. Some people have wedges drawn, maybe something like this sort of wedge. That is a possibility. I mean, I can leave this right now that there is some sort of wedge being formed on Litecoin that I didn't notice in the past, but this could definitely be a leading factor right now. Usually these big wedges or big fractals break bullish, so we could be potentially seeing that, also known as, I believe, a pennant flag or a bull flag before we break bullish. Now notice we are trending fairly low and we are below the high-low MMA, so that's a good indicator for us to retrace back up. But the one thing that's leading me to believe we could be falling lower is the fact that on the MACD, we're starting to see that crossover. So you can see what I'm referring to. That red band, or the blue band, is crossing over the orange band, which is an indication of a bear signal. Now, if we do cross over that, how far could we go? Notice on the daily that we are very close to being oversold, but not there yet. So with that in mind, if we do see a retracement lower, I would call that we could see it fall as low as $46 on the coin. I know that's unfortunate, but a $46, movement downwards could be the lowest we go within Litecoin before we see any sort of retracement, big break to the upside. So I'm really waiting for this movement to happen because I do think come towards 2020 and come towards the end of Bitcoin, Litecoin's fractal forming, we could see that reversal upwards because of how, oversold we've been and how oversold we could potentially be getting come the next couple of days. So that's a big point that I wanted to point out for you guys. Same thing with Bitcoin, that Bitcoin is kind of repeating itself. And if history continues to trade out how we've seen, I really want to speak to you guys. This is very interesting and quite odd, if you ask me, that we've seen this pattern happen here before where we had a support drawn. It's a very obvious support for people that dislike technical analysis. This is huge. This cuts right through, and you can see the symmetrical or the descending triangle that formed right in here, consolidation. And right at the point where we were waiting for us to break bullish, notice the high-low MMA was above here. There was tons of downwards pressure. We broke bearish. Unfortunately, that's what happened. Now, flash forward to where we're at now. We had a same thing, which we could probably draw a symmetrical triangle and call it a bearish one or a descending triangle. But this symmetrical triangle formed and we broke bearish and we fell clearly below the high-low MMA, and we broke bearish. It's the same exact thing that happened here. And then we entered consolidation. And you can see the little dip we had right here, the same dip we had right here, and now we're expecting consolidation and then a slow price rise. So we may see the coin dip a little bit lower, maybe to 7,700 before we see a rise back up. And then this breakout is definitely happening. So this is huge, guys. I didn't notice this in the past. I wanted to share it with you because I do think it is extremely important. Now to jump into the other technical analysis really quickly, guys, Karma Newsroom has posted that the Karma Automotive brings Bitcoin to flagship store. So Karma Automotive, the Southern California-based creator of luxury electric vehicles and high-tech incubator, is using a flagship company-owned store in New Beach, California to further its shareholders' expertise in blockchain technology. Basically, they now accept Bitcoin as a form of payment for new vehicle sales and service performed at the facility. So in regards to buying a brand new Karma for, $70,000, $80,000, you can also use it for service, which is a little bit cheaper. And that's what I appreciate that they did. Service, you get an oil change, you get an inspection, you can pay them in Bitcoin for it. And that I think is really cool because that lowers their prices or our means of payment. It makes it very difficult to buy a new car. It's very rare you're going to see sales with Bitcoin for a $80,000 purchase. But for smaller purchases, 100, 200, a couple thousand, that may be more doable. So that's pretty awesome. I do think that's a huge shout out to them for finally accepting Bitcoin. And we're starting to see the places, accept crypto. So that's awesome. And I'm really proud that they're starting to do that. As well as the current coin market cap, you'll notice things aren't looking too bad. Majority of the cryptos are up, doing quite well. Top 10 cryptos are all in green except for Tether and Bitcoin Cash, which is nothing too bad. Notice that Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash are getting very close in terms of market cap. We're about $500 million off, which I know sounds like a lot, but it's fairly small in terms of this coin market cap and in terms of cryptocurrency. So we may see this bump out Bitcoin Cash in the next couple of weeks. Also notice that we have triple or 3 times the amount of volume pumping through Litecoin that we do Bitcoin Cash. So that's a pretty awesome sight as well. Now lastly, to wrap up Ethereum and XRP, Ethereum is getting rejected from its high-low middle moving average, starting to fall lower, which is unfortunate, but it does happen. We did have a small uptrend drawn, which I did delete due to the fact we broke bearish through that. I wasn't sure. It looked too weak for us to really consider that anything. It does just open up that we are in some sort of channel right here with a resistance at 198 and a support at 157. Also, looking at XRP, this is pretty odd, and I wanted to point this out to you guys. Notice XRP has had this massive, support / resistance on the coin for months now. Absolutely months. I'll draw it in, I don't like red. Let's draw it in pink. So notice that ever since 2017, May of 2017, we've had this resistance where we were not able to break 30 cents. And we finally broke it come December 2017. We broke bullish, we fell down. Where did we fall? To support at 30 cents. Support right here, 30 cents, support, 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 support. We finally broke bearish through that, which was huge. A lot of people are considering that if we break bullish through this, we may be able to see a conservative, bull run up to possibly the 65 cent gain or 66 cents, which is about 125% jump, which is huge. That is, I'd say, more than conservative. I think a conservative approach would be up to 38 cents from the 30 cents we're at currently, and that would be a conservative approach. But there could be that breakout that could happen, and we could see a pretty big surge within XRP. Otherwise, guys, that's going to wrap up today's episode. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications, leave a giant thumbs up, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Peace.